Hello again, ladies and gentlemen, Saka here, and welcome back to D&D 5e for absolute beginners, and today we are going over the classes. We've established the races in the player's handbook, so now we will go over the base classes that you can choose from as a level 1 character, or as a level 20 character as far as that's concerned. Today we will be covering the Barbarian, the Bard, and the Cleric, so let's start with the big bad Barbarian. So if you wanted a quick build Barbarian, not think about your rolls too much, the player's handbook suggests putting your highest stat into strength and your next highest roll into constitution, and then of course add your racial modifiers and your background modifiers. And the player's handbook suggests the Outlander background, and when we get into backgrounds you will see all the perks that that particular background gives. So strength and constitution are going to be your primary skills. Your hit dice per level, that means when you level up, how many hit points do you gain as a character? The Barbarian rolls 1d12 plus their constitution modifier. So let's say they were a 12 and has a constitution modifier of 1. That would be 1d12 plus 1. Let's actually roll up a 1d12 here and see exactly what hit points we would get. Booyah, there we go. So 4 plus 1. This particular Barbarian would level up 5 hit points for that level gain. So when you're starting out level 1, how many hit points do you have? It is 1d12 plus your constitution modifier. So this guy would start out with a maximum of 13 hit points at a level 1 Barbarian. So as you can see, if you rolled a 16 and put that into your constitution, you would have plus 3. So your hit dice would then be 1d12 plus 3, and you would actually have 15 hit points to start out. And if you are tanking, it would be beneficial to have more hit points. So as you can see, constitution is a big deal. As a Barbarian, you are also proficient in light armor, medium armor, and a shield. And you're wondering, hey, can't I just put on a suit of heavy armor as a Barbarian? Well, without the heavy armor proficiency, there are penalties to wearing something that you are not proficient in. According to the player's handbook, if you are wearing armor you are not proficient in, you have disadvantage on all checks, attack rolls, and saving throws on anything that has to do with strength or dexterity. So if this Barbarian here was, wearing heavy armor and he wanted to swing his battle axe, he would actually have a disadvantage, meaning he would roll 2d20s and take the lower of the two every single time. So it is in your best interest to wear armor that you are good at. What does armor do? As you can see, the light armor improves your armor class to 11 plus your dex, or say medium armor 13 or 14 armor plus your dex. Your shield also gives you an additional +2 to your armor class, making you harder to hit. So not bad at all. So what kind of weapons can the Barbarian use? Well, you are looking at them. This entire top row is simple melee weapons. These are martial melee weapons, as you have proficiency in both. And as you can see, if you know martial, if you are proficient in martial weapons, you can get things like mauls, glaives, tridents. If you wanted to do an Aquaman type deal, lances, rapiers, pikes, battle axes. If you are only proficient in simple weapons, we're talking spears, quarterstaff, daggers, hand axes, maces, sickles, very small weapons. But if you are a master of martial, holy crap, the world is your oyster. Everything from a 1d12 damage to 2d6, 1d8, and of course some things have some different bonuses, like it can be used for 2 hands, it has an additional reach. It's just up to you what type of Barbarian you would like to play, but as far as weapons go, you have the run of the mill. Your saving throw proficiency is your strength, and your constitution as well. So in this case, we would have a 3 plus our proficiency bonus of 2, meaning that if anything tries to make us throw up or anything of that nature, we have a +5 to our d20 roll. And then same thing here, if this was a 16 as well, and this was also a +3, we would also have a +5 to a strength saving throw. So if we had to grab onto someone really quick or something of that nature, we would add 5 to our d20 roll for a better chance of success. The Barbarian can also choose 2 of the following skills to be proficient in. We have Animal Handling, we have Athletics, we have Intimidation, we have Nature, right there, we have Perception, right there, and we have Survival. Boop. So any of those 2 that you choose to be proficient in, of course you add your proficiency bonus, whatever it is, and you add that to your d20 roll to make those checks. So starting equipment, you have either a Great Axe, which is 1d12 slashing, weighs 7 pounds, is a heavy 2-handed, so unfortunately you cannot use a shield if you want to use a Great Axe. So instead of the Great Axe, you can choose to pick one martial weapon that is one-handed. So say, for example, the longsword, which can be used both in one-handed or two-handed, plus your shield, for example. You also get 2 hand axes or any simple weapon. So your simple weapon are your light hammers, your picks, your scythes, the little things that you carry, or you can carry 2 hand axes to throw, which you can see that the range is 20, and it does 1d6 slashing damage. You can throw the weapon to make the ranged attack. If it is a melee, uses the same ability modifier for the attack and damage you would use for your melee attack, which means strength. And you would add your strength modifier to your attack roll to see if this hand axe hits. And it's a pretty good deal for 1d6 for a ranged Barbarian. And no matter which layout you choose to pick, you also get 4 javelins to throw, 1d6 piercing damage, and once again, you use your strength to judge your attack roll. So not bad. So if you wanted to be really ranged, you could take the 2 hand axes, which also do 1d6, so you would have 6 attempts at ranged attacks, and then back up with your hand axe or your great axe or your longsword or whatever else you choose to carry. The big Barbarian feature that a level 1 Barbarian can use a lot is Rage. So as a bonus action, meaning that you can use it and then attack and move without burning up a turn, you can enter a Rage. As long as you're not wearing heavy armor, so once again going back to the proficiency of light and medium armor, you have advantage on strength checks and strength saving throws. When you make a melee attack using strength, you gain a bonus to the damage roll that increases as you gain levels. You have resistance to bludgeoning, piercing, and slashing damage, so if the creatures that you are fighting does any one type of these damages, you take half damage. And as you can see, from level 1 to 8, you add 2 to your damage roll. And between level 1 and 2, you can rage twice until you need to finish a long rest. That is a full 8 hours of sleep. However, you cannot cast spells or concentrate, and it lasts for 1 minute. Each round of combat is 6 seconds, so think of this as a 10-turn buff. So that is pretty good. It ends early if you're knocked unconscious, or if your turn ends and you haven't attacked a hostile creature since your last turn or taken damage. So you have to keep on keeping on. Once you engage the train, you have to roll with it. Either keep attacking or keep getting hit. So if you also want to go complete Conan the Barbarian, you can go unarmored defense as well. As you can see, if you're not wearing any armor at all, that means you are giving up the AC bonuses for, light armor or medium. You can choose to add 10 plus your dexterity modifier plus your constitution modifier as an armor class, and you can still use a shield. So much like this guy looks right, he would get the unarmored defense perk, and still have a +2 to that armor class as well, because he has a shield. So not bad at all. And that's everything that the Barbarian gets at level 1. Once we're done creating a character and playing through and getting the feel of it, I can go into more in depth on each and every class to say what they get from level 2 through 20, but this is a level 1 Barbarian and everything that they receive. Let's get into the musical mook of the Bard. The Bard is a very charismatic character known for their wheeling and dealing, their fast talking, and their performance. So if you are a fan of being the center of attention and performing for others, then the Bard might be a good class for you. According to the player's handbook, a good Bard start would be to place your highest number rolled in your charisma block, then your second highest number in your dexterity block, and also take the entertainer background. And just like the Barbarian, once we get into backgrounds, they will make a little bit more sense, but for your spell casting ability, that's right, we actually have spell slots and spell casting ability with the Bard. The charisma is going to be your spell casting modifier that is going to be put forward. So the higher number you can get in charisma, the more potent your spells will be. At first level, your total hit points are 1d8 plus your constitution modifier. At first level, of course, that is 8 plus whatever you can muster in constitution. Your hit dice is 1d8 per level. So unlike our Barbarian that had a massive d12, our little Bard has a d8. So if we were to roll this d8, booyah, we would get 1 plus our constitution modifier, which if we put a 10 here and got a 0, we would only gain 1 hit point when we leveled. So the Bard is kind of squishy. Keep them at a distance. The Bard is proficient in light armor only, so leather armor, studded leather armor, or padded armor. So if you splurge and have some money and you go for the studded leather armor, you have AC of 12, that's your armor class, plus your dex. So that is where the dexterity skill comes in handy. So if you want to become less squishy, take studded leather armor, spend some coin if you have it, and give yourself the best chance to not get hit. Your weapon proficiency are the simple kind. However, there are a few bonus weapons that you can get proficient in. We have the rapier, the short sword, and the hand crossbow. So the most bang for your buck would probably be the rapier. It's a finesse weapon, so dexterity is your attack roll modifier and your damage. So, you know, if you want to hit the hardest with a Bard, your rapier might not be a bad choice if you're not going to use something like a great club or something like that. So yeah, it looks like the rapier is the most damage done. If you want to keep at a distance though, the hand crossbow might not be a bad idea if you're going to be primarily spellcasting. You are also proficient in 3 musical instruments of your choice: bagpipes, drums, dulcimers, pan flutes, lyres, lutes, horns, flutes, viol, and shaum. You will get one of these as a Bard, so of course pick a proficiency in a musical instrument that you actually want to use, but if you come across 2 of the other instruments you're proficient in, you can pick up right where you left off and add your proficiency bonus. Your saving throws are charisma. You can add your proficiency bonus and your dexterity, adding your saving throw. So you're really quick to jump out of the way, and you're really hard to fool or anything like that by some fast-talking schmo. As far as skills you're proficient in, you can choose any 3 on the board. So if you wanted to, say, be a good performer, then performance would be a no-brainer. If you're an entertainer background, though, and you get that performance proficiency right away, don't waste your Bard skill proficiency on something that your background or your race gives you proficiency in. So definitely keep that in mind, but you can choose any 3 from this list to be proficient in. So starting equipment, you can choose the rapier, you can choose the longsword, which I misspoke earlier, you do have proficiency in longsword as well, so you can choose rapier, longsword, or any one of these simple weapons. You also have access to a diplomat's pack or an entertainer's pack. The diplomat pack allows you to do things like forge documents with seals and whatnot. The Entertainer's pack gives you costumes and some special effects that you could use to enhance your performance. So think about, do you want to, you know, go behind and forge documents, or do you want to perform in front of people? Standard Bard musical instrument is the lute, but you can choose any one to carry with you. And also, every Bard comes with standard leather armor and a dagger. So a 1d4 piercing finesse, and you can also throw it, and as well as an 11 AC plus your dex modifier. So once again, that dexterity modifier coming into play to make you less squishy. So we haven't talked about spell casting yet. Just know that the Bard gets 2 cantrips of their choice from the Bard spell list. Those are the spells that you can cast without really thinking about it, and you can cast them as much as you want. You also get spell slots. According to the player's handbook, the level 1 Bard gets 4 spells known, 2 cantrips, and 2 first level spells that you choose from the Bard spell list. You use your proficiency bonus +8 plus charisma to set the spell save DC that the enemy will have to roll to not be affected by your spell, and your spell attack modifier is your proficiency plus your charisma for the Bard. Your charisma modifier should be the highest if you placed your highest number in the charisma block, and that is how much damage you do. You can also cast any Bard spell you know as a ritual if that spell has the ritual tag, and you can use the musical instrument as a focus. So what stops a non-magic user from using magic? Well, the spellcasting focus. Wizards will have a staff or a rod. A cleric will have a holy symbol. For the Bard, their musical instrument is how they actually cast the spell. So you can choose from 2 of these particular cantrips. Blade Ward, increasing the resistance against bludgeoning, piercing, and slashing. You can choose Dancing Lights to create 4 torch-sized lights within range, make them appearing as torches. You can do Friends. For the duration, you have advantage on all charisma checks directed at one creature that is not hostile towards you. However, when the spell ends, the creature realizes that you use magic to influence and will become hostile. A creature prone to violence might even attack. So this is a Jedi mind trick, except when they come out of it, they know good and well they got. Light. Touch one object that is no larger than 10 feet in any dimension. Once the spell ends, the object sheds bright light in a 20-foot radius. The Mage Hand. This is your basically Jedi using the Force to pull things towards you. You can have a hand reach out and interact with things up to 30 feet away. Mending. A spell repairs a single break or tear in an object you touch, such as a broken chain, 2 halves of a broken key, torn cloak, leaking wineskin. So pretty good. We have Message. Point your finger towards a creature within range and whisper a message to the target, and only the target hears the message, so you can talk to your fellow teammates from across the room, or, you know, get someone's attention. Minor Illusion. You create the image of an object. If you create a sound, it can be varied. If you create an image, it can be anything, but if someone interacts with it, it will be dispelled. Prestidigitation. Instantly snuff out candles, torches, campfires, clean or soiled objects, chill, warm, or flavor up to non-living material. Make colors, marks appear on objects and surfaces. Create a non-magical trinket or sensory image you can fit in your hand. It's basically fooling someone. And True Strike, your magic grants you a brief insight into the target defense. On the next turn, you gain advantage on your first attack roll, provided the spell hasn't ended. We also have Vicious Mockery, which is very popular with the Bard. The string of insults laced with subtle enchantments at a creature, and it must succeed on a wisdom saving throw or take 1d4 psychic damage, and it will have disadvantage on the next attack roll it makes. So if it is attacking your friends and you Vicious Mockery it, it will need to roll 2d20s and take the lower of the 2, and you may make it miss. When it comes to the actual meat and potatoes spell of the Bard, you can choose from 4 of these first level spells. You only have slots for 2 to cast at first level each day, but you do not need to prepare any of these. So you choose from 4 of these guys, and once you cast 2 at first level, you are done for the day. If the spell is marked as a ritual, like Unseen Servant, if you have 10 minutes of undisturbed concentration, you can cast it without using a spell slot. So that is things like the Illusory Script, Identify, anything that is marked as a ritual, Detect Magic, Comprehend Languages, that sort of thing. Very handy in a library when you're trying to comprehend a language. If you can spend 10 minutes alone in quiet time, you get the benefits of the spell without actually casting it. However, you can only cast it at level 1. So let's run through these real quick. Animal Friendship lets you convince a beast it means you no harm. Choose a beast you can see. If it is 4 or higher, the spell fails. So a smart beast will know you're trying to trick it. Bane. Up to 3 creatures you can see within range must make charisma saving throws. Whenever the target fails, it makes an attack roll or saving throw before the spell ends. They must roll a d4 and subtract the number rolled from the attack roll or saving throw. Charming a person. A humanoid. It must make a wisdom saving throw and does so with advantage if you and your companions are fighting it. If it fails, it's charmed by you. Charmed creature regards you as friendly acquaintance. Nice. For the duration of Comprehend Languages, you understand the literal meaning of any spoken language that you hear. Also understand any spoken language that you hear. You also understand any written language that you see, but must be touching the surface of which the words are written. 1 minute for 1 full page of text. It doesn't decode secret messages, so it just tells you exactly what is written. Cure Wounds. Regains a hit points 1d8 plus your spell casting ability modifier. That would be Charisma. It has no effect on undead or constructs, but that is good for your buddies. Detecting Magic. Presence of magic within 30 feet. If you sense magic in this way, you can see a faint aura around a visible creature that bears magic, and if you learn its school of magic, if any. Disguising Self, including armor, clothing, weapons, and other belongings. So pretty cool if you are a spy going undercover. The Dissonant Whispers. The target must make a wisdom saving throw. On a failed, it takes 3d6 psychic damage and must immediately use its reaction, if available, to move as far away from you as possible. Fairy Fire. Each object within a 20-foot cube is outlined in blue, green, or violet light. Any creature within the area is also outlined in light if it fails a dex saving throw. So this actually shows invisible people in a faint blue, green, or violet light. Feather Falling. 1 reaction which you Feather Falling. Choose 5 falling creatures within range. A falling creature's rate of descent slows to 60 feet per round until the spell ends. If the creature lands before the spell ends, it takes no falling damage and can land on its feet, and the spell ends for that creature. Healing Word. When you cast this spell, 1d4 plus spell casting ability, so it's kind of like a Cure Wounds on the lighter side. Heroism. A willing creature you touch is imbued with bravery. The creature is immune to being frightened and gains temporary hit points equal to your spellcasting ability modifier at the start of each of its turns. When the spell ends, the target loses any remaining hit points from the spell. So it's a brief boost. It's a stim pack, if you will, and that will be your charisma modifier. Identify. Choose an object you must touch through the casting of the spell. If it is magic, you learn its properties and how to use them. Whether it requires attunement, how many charges it has, you learn what spells are affecting the item and what they are. If the item was created by a spell, you learn which spell created it. Illusory Script. You write on parchment paper, writing material, and a potion illusion. You and any creatures you designate, the writing appears normal, and everybody else it appears it was written in an unknown magical script and unintelligible. Very nice. Long Strider. You touch a creature, its speed increases by 10. Silent Image. An object, creature, or visible phenomenon no larger than a 15-foot cube. It isn't accompanied by sound, smell, or sensory effects, so it is just a silent image. Interaction reveals it to be an illusion. Sleep. Roll 5d8. The total is how many hit points of creatures the spell can affect. Creatures within 20 feet of a point are affected in ascending order of their current hit points, ignoring unconscious creatures, starting with the lowest. Speaking with animals. Verbally communicate with beasts for the duration. Knowledge and awareness is limited by their intelligence, but they can give you information about nearby locations and monsters, or what they have perceived within the day. Tasha's hideous laughter. A creature of your choice you can see perceives everything as hilariously funny. The target must succeed on a wisdom saving throw or fall prone, becoming incapacitated and unable to stand up. A creature with an intelligence of 4 or less isn't affected, so you gotta be smart enough to get the joke. At the end of each of turns, it takes, and each time it takes damage, it can make a wisdom saving throw. On success, it ends. Thunder Wave. Each creature within a 15-foot cube must make a con saving throw. It takes 2d8 thunder damage and is pushed away 10 feet from you. If successful save, they take half damage and cannot be pushed. And the Unseen Servant. The spell creates the invisible, mindless, shapeless force that performs simple tasks at your command. It springs into existence in an unoccupied space. It has an armor class of 10, 1 hit point, a strength of 2, and it cannot attack, and if it drops to 0, the spell ends. So you pick from 4 of those, and you can cast 2 each day. And lastly, for the level 1 bard, you can inspire others through stirring words or music. You could do a bonus action. One creature other than yourself within 60 feet of you, that creature gains 1 bardic inspiration die, a d6. Once within the next 10 minutes, the creature can roll the die and add the number to 1 ability check, attack roll, or saving throw. The creature can wait until after it rolls the d20 before deciding to use the bardic inspiration, but must decide before the DM says whether it succeeds or fails. So if you're falling down a cliff and you roll a 2, and you know good and well that it is going to fail, you can use a d6 to try to save yourself. So the bard is great at casting magic, inspiring others, deceiving others, and just making others feel better about their surroundings. So if you are a hands-off type of player who don't want to get in the middle of swinging swords and bashing shields and want to cast some deceptive magic to convince things to go your way, then the bard is a pretty good choice. And unfortunately, I've ran out of time for this episode. Ladies and gentlemen, we only got 2 classes covered today, but the spellcasters take a whole lot. Once we get to the classes like Fighter, where there really isn't a whole lot extra to explain or spells to go over, we may cover 4 or even 5 of the classes in those videos. And like I said, once we make our character and we do like a little mock run and you can see how to play, we'll go in depth on each of the classes separately, levels 1 through 20, to see what each class gets. But that will do it for me. Like, share, and subscribe if you are so bold. Thank you so much for tuning in, and I will see you for the next episode of D&D for Absolute Beginners. Take care.